Good morning. Welcome back to another installment of All Access Garage. My name is Josh Hankin. It is a breezy 35 degrees here in Austin, Texas, especially here on the hilltop at St. Edward's University. Today I am happily going to give you guys someone that I personally just barely heard of, but an amazing band nonetheless. A very great person, Daniel Cross from Birthmarks. How are you doing?
Hi, nice. How you doing? You good?
I'm doing well, man. It's a little chilly for my liking out here, but you know what? Gotta roll with the punches, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
And how's the
Yeah,
weather with you guys?
it's crazy. It's like for the first time, it's the worst storm in like 40 years at the moment. So we're all having to stay inside, and the roof just got ripped off the O2 Arena, which is like the big arena in London. But apparently it's passing now. So, but it's the first time we've had like a red weather warning in London for like 40 years or something ridiculous. So it's pretty extreme.
That
Weirdly
is
today.
that is crazy, man. Holy cow! Yeah, no, yeah, I think like I mentioned to you before we started, the whole idea with the whole winter storm just barely passed, and it was just extremely brutal. So I'm pretty sure you guys have it just as worse as we do. But here in Texas, we are so unprepared at all for anything regarding winters or anything like that. Usually, it's a huge mess when a cold front comes in. But
It's the same in London actually. Like anytime it snows, the whole city just shuts down. It's quite funny. I was always saying like if there was going to be a terrorist attack, just invent like a snow machine and just bring the whole economy to a halt. That'd be like passively way of doing it.
and what's the temperature out there for you guys?
Um, I get so confused between
Well, you can
the
say
temperature
Celsius, I
difference.
think, right? Because that's what you go by, right?
Yeah, so I think it's about kind of 5, 6 at the moment. I'm not sure if the wind is bringing that down though, but yeah, it's not too bad. It has been freezing recently, but it's like London in early spring, like winter basically. So,
Oh man, and is this usually the type of weather that usually happens within this I guess around here in February for you guys?
yeah, so around like January and February, we'll get like a couple of days of snow every now and again, but it's just everything I'd imagine you see in films where it's kind of like cold and rainy. That's kind of London for this period of time. So.
All right. Well, once again, thank you for coming in, and we're here at the Hilltop, especially here at Top Radio and All Access Garage. We're really welcome to have you here. It's a privilege. So thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to stop by.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
Alrighty then. Well, let's do it. That's what they say. Let's do that, right? How did it all start for your band? What was the kind of the origin story, if you would, for that?
So basically, I was in a kind of punk band called Little Death Machine for years with kind of a few different members. And we started working on an album, and the punk band was pretty aggressive and like industrial and a lot of kind of like harsh beats and stuff. But when we started doing the album, it just didn't really sound like that. It felt like it really evolved, and then it was just like the name didn't fit pretty much. It was like the machine wasn't there anymore. It was like more organic sounding. So we decided to let's just make it a new band. Let's do a new thing with it. We'd been doing Little Death Machine for a long time. We kind of done what we wanted to do with it, and it was fun and it was cool. But it just felt like it was a new opportunity to do something different. Like one of our members left. Like we had a VJ who would do visuals projected onto us live and stuff, and he was getting really busy with because he does animation, so the idea of touring and animating was getting a bit tricky for him. So yeah, it was just time to kind of like maybe readdress it, and then the album just sounded so different to what we'd done before. It just felt like it was a time to do something different, and hence the new name.
Right on, right on. And for you specifically, or yeah, for you specifically, was there anyone who inspired you to possibly get into the music scene? Just kind of going a little bit backwards in time there.
Yeah, well, my uncle when I was young, I've got this lovely cool uncle who used to like give me CDs and stuff every birthday. So when I think I was like 10, he gave me Nevermind by Nirvana, and then he gave me Repeater by Fugazi, Nevermind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols, Slint, Spiderland, and so like every birthday and Christmas, I'd get like this new like incredible little disc of music, and it was so different to the last one, and it was just, and then he was like giving me like hip hop stuff, so like Cannibal Locks, I can't remember the name, the Cold Vein by Cannibal Locks he gave me, and it was just feeding into like, obviously there's like the mainstream kind of radio and stuff that was around, but I guess it's like a lot of people have that older brother who passed down their record collections. Did you get that? But I had that through my uncle. So like every birthday would be like this new genre to explore, or this new kind of mood and stuff. And like I love all those albums. They're still like some of my favorite albums. Maybe not the Sex Pistols, but yeah, like Slint is like still one of, like Spiderland is definitely one of my favorite albums of all time. And I was thinking I was like 12 when he gave that to me. I didn't necessarily understand it at first, but it just yeah, I guess it just hit deep with me.
And do you still find yourself going back to those albums that your uncle gifted you, maybe to listen around some time here there?
Yeah, so like I always call Spiderland my depression album, and I can tell it's like when I'm starting to feeling quite sad that I'm listening to that on repeat, and it's kind of like it's in some ways a bit of a warning sign for me now to kind of like maybe address some stuff that's going on, because I mean it's beautiful and it's an incredible record, but it shouldn't be listened to like 20 times a day. That's not healthy. But yeah, like we all still love Nirvana, obviously, and like Cannibal Ox again. That record I still really love. It just I guess it kind of opened up new worlds, really.
Right on, right on. Um, so as far as your band name, is there a story behind Birthmarks, the name, though the band name Birthmarks, perhaps?
Yeah, so the punk band is Little Death Machine, and I just wanted to do something opposite of that. So I was like death, birth, and then birthmarks just kind of seem to fit, and I feel like they can be interpreted as something that's like either like cute or beautiful or really ugly, or and I kind of feel like our sound jumps in between those things to a degree, and I guess it's just something that you're born with. So the music, it sound really corny, but like you're born with the music. um, and I've also got birthmark on my head, which I've never seen because I'm too scared to shave my head. But yeah, it seems like people kind of react to the name. Like some people find it a bit weird, which I guess I quite like. Like there's some people don't like it because they don't like birthmarks, or they have like a negative connotation with birthmarks, which is I think it's quite interesting as like an artist to put that to people as a thing. So it's weird that it has such a strong reaction. I didn't expect that in the slightest when we decided on the name, but it's funny, like it's visceral to people. But I think birthmarks are really beautiful on people.
Oh, it is very, especially in the band. I think it was the first band that I've heard with such a unique name like that, and I figured it was like really interesting because now that you mention it, it's kind of up to the interpretation of people on how the I guess where the birthmark sounds to them. So I feel like this is very interesting. You kind of leave it to the listener to determine that, which is pretty. I think is really awesome. I think that's something that I actually haven't ever heard an artist say before or do that. I think it's just much more of a name, but this one kind of has like a connotation to that. So I think that's really interesting. So it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I think as well, like I'm giving ourselves too much credit. Like it just sounded cool and it looked cool as well. But then all these kind of like connotations kind of started to make sense afterwards. So it wasn't like our intention to go out with a name that has connotations, but we'll take it. Like it's
It's very interesting, and that's really awesome. I'm really happy you came out with a very cool name for that. So really awesome. But as for you right now, right, personally in your personal life, what do you do? Such as hobby sports. What do you do outside of music if you're not doing anything in the studio?
I mean, it's pretty all encompassing. I'm not gonna lie, but me and Jono in the band were both really into films and cinema, so we'll watch a lot, we'll talk about films, and yeah, really into film. I'm really into art as well, so like I love going to see different exhibitions, and just like reading about art. I'm quite a big reader as well, so I was really into non-fiction, but I'm trying to get into fiction now, so I'm working my way through a couple of books. I support a football or a soccer team called Arsenal, so that's takes up some of my like emotional time so because they're quite a hard team to support. Yeah, that's good. The music is for better or for worse, like all encompassing, really.
Right
I'd
on.
say.
Yeah. Sports teams are typically always like that. They're hard to love, especially when they're not doing too hot. I think that's
Uh,
something I
it's
can relate to on that for sure.
It's so stressful. What sports are you into?
I'm more into kind of growing up I really hated sports. I know it wasn't until my mom and dad I did something bad at the house. I think I was back talking to my parents when I was like 9 years old or something.
Uh-huh.
And my dad's like, if you stay with me, I'm gonna make you do work outside. And my mom's like, well, if you come with me, you can go watch a football game, American football. So I was like, yeah. So I went with my mom, and since then I've really loved American football. My favorite sport though is hockey, and I currently my team right now is the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't know if you know who they are.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
love playing. Well, I used to love playing like NFL on PlayStation when I was younger.
yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it's very frustrating because to your point, yeah, it's hard to support a team when they're just very. You just want to go in there and just like get upset and
Oh,
everything. It's
it's
just
so
I.
painful. It's funny though, because I kind of, well, I'd always liked football, but I kind of fell out with love of it, or just kind of lost interest, or was too busy doing other stuff, until the lockdowns happened over here, and then football became like our only form of live entertainment. And my fiance hates football with a passion, and she's convinced that I like conned her into a relationship with someone that doesn't like football, because now she's like, when we were first going out for the first few years, you had no interest whatsoever, but now it's like you dedicate time to this now. This like, it's literally because it was the only live entertainment, and I got back into it.
And if you know, real quick, I know we're kind of going a little bit. I wouldn't say off topic, but rather when the NFL goes to the UK, do you know how? Like, do they just play like a regular like football field? In terms
Yeah,
of yeah,
they do Wembley Stadium and I think White Hart Lane, which is the Tottenham Stadium. But it's weird because I'm not super into American football, but it is huge here when it happens. Like you just see
wow,
everyone wearing like the jerseys, and all the tubes get like rammed with people going to the games and stuff, and it feels like there's a bit of a fever about it. It's cool.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's really cool that you somehow I guess American football is getting all the way to you guys, and it's just as exciting over there as it is over here. So,
Mm.
but by the way, did you end up watching the Super Bowl? It just happened this past Sunday.
I watched the halftime show. Yeah, I didn't watch the game. I don't even know who was playing, I'm afraid. So to say the halftime show was really cool though. Like Kendrick was my standout. I know people have been with like, I don't know. It was awesome. It was really fun. It was
Right
cool.
on.
Like you guys do that halftime entertainment thing so well,
Yeah,
and that
no,
didn't
I
disappoint.
yeah, I know that the other they had like I know of halftime shows. I think the only halftime shows there are usually in the Super Bowl. I don't think there's any other sport that or any other sport that has halftime that does something like that at all. But yeah.
Is
Um
is your halftime at that point longer as a period of time? Because it was like normally, well, a football match is like 15 minutes. So I'm not sure what an American football match is, but do they
I think
extend it for the halftime show?
yeah, so I think like during regulation games, I think it's more of I think like 20 minutes, give or take. And then
Okay,
after that, it's about another after I think for the Super Bowl, I think it was like almost like 45 minutes.
all right.
Because I'm assuming the whole time to set up the whole stage, perform, and then get everything out of the field. I figured it'd probably be
Yeah.
about 45 minutes, give or take.
Okay.
But
Wow.
but yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
as far as you right now, if it weren't for music, what do you think you'd be doing right now, perhaps?
I don't know actually. I think I'd really like to do, well, it's something I'd like to maybe explore later in life. Kind of like counseling or kind of therapy. Because I've had periods of counseling and therapy in my life, and I really appreciate it. Um, and it. I don't know what I've done without it, and I'd like to not give that back to other people, but I'd like to maybe be able to help people in the same way that I was helped by people. And I love reading about kind of the brain psychology, and um, figure out why we do things, why we react to things the way we do, and like CBT and stuff like that. So it's something I definitely like to explore in later life, which I'm thinking about doing as in the next few years, maybe alongside the band. So probably something to do with that, I think.
That's great. That's really great. I think like we were talking before the interview. It's important to take care of your mental health, regardless of what position you're in. We were mentioning how what was the Black Country New Roads.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
for people who don't know, I know the main singer. had left for his mental health, and I think that's something that everyone needs to, kind of acknowledge, because it's, your health comes first. It really does, and if you don't have a good health, you can't really live a productive life. So it's very good that, you know that people are taking care of their mental health, and for you, Daniel, I think it's very important that you took care of your health too.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's something that, a lot of people, unfortunately, especially, I've mentioned it so many times in other interviews, where the city I come from is very conservative and they don't believe in that. Just kind of like, man up, don't cry. It's important to take care of yourself regardless of who you are or what you do. So I'm very happy that you're very passionate about wanting to help people, become the better self. So that makes sense. So that's really awesome. I
Yeah,
applaud
yeah.
you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, it's just something I kind of like hold quite dear to my heart and stuff. Where I think I don't know many people that haven't suffered with mental health problems, and I think it's important to talk about it, because I feel like that's the best way of starting to change like the taboo around it. It's just like, let's start having more frank and honest conversations about how to stop people from not being well, or from from tragedies from happening, because I feel like it is an avoidable thing if the especially in England, where if like the what's the word, the kind of standardized view on what a mental health problem is, and I say that with inverted commas, that if we can start to change that and start to have more an open conversation, I feel like people are just going to be so much better off, and people can be more open and honest about it. And I feel like it's just an important thing to talk about.
No, definitely, and I mean, kind of back to, again, kind of, the days back in my ENT days where I was a paramedic. The idea was all the time, you see a lot of terrible stuff. You experience a lot of crazy, outcomes to a lot of certain cases, and I know some guys just go ahead and don't talk about it. They feel like it's
Mm.
not important, and kind of going back to what you mentioned, it's best to always talk about something if you know it's bothering you. I think one thing that my instructor had told me, and maybe you will agree with it, is, don't let a snowball become an avalanche. Stop it where you can right now, and it's just, you're not alone. That's just the general thing about all this stuff, is that you're not alone, and people always will help you if you just ask. And I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
beauty of it. So, like I mentioned to you, power to you, man.
No,
if
same to you. It's really cool that you're like um, giving time on your radio show to talk about it. It's obviously something you care about as well, and I think that's awesome. It's really cool.
Of course, and I think it's, without a doubt to say, if you are any of the listeners right now who are going through a tough time in life, feel free to go to your family, your friends, anyone who you trust, to go get some help. I feel like it's a very important thing to do so. I don't have any hotline numbers prepared right now, but I'll go ahead and make sure it is posted alongside anything that does get published out there. So, thank you all for that. And then, like, then once again, thank you for talking about this, Daniel. It's very opening to show people that they're not alone at these times, especially, still coming. We're just still kind of getting out of a pandemic. We're still in one, but
Yeah.
so, um, as far as anything, as far as the pandemic now, for your band and whatnot, how, there's been a lot of struggles, regardless of how you look at it, but maybe on an individual level or perhaps a band level, how do you, there's been a lot of hardships, of course, but how have you tried to overcome it, perhaps?
Well, I guess the pandemics were kind of, it was, there was obviously so many horrible things that happened, but like for us as a band, it was, and there's so many worse things that happened this, but our album came out, I think, 2 days after the first lockdown happened. So it'd been, pretty much a year working up to that. Um, for the release. So that was frustrating because we couldn't play, obviously, and go and support it and tour it. So like all of our live plans went out the window. And like it was such a new landscape to navigate it. It was really tricky. So we were like doing live streams and stuff. That's fun, but I felt like you hit a limit with live streams. Really, you can only do so many. We tried to look at different options on, explore different avenues of live streams. So we do like, yeah, kind of more talking kind of ones, like conversational things, as well as like acoustic gigs and stuff. So that was frustrating. But then I guess the gift it did give was like having so much time. Like I was in a very I'm very privileged to have not been in that much of a stressful situation where like no one I knew like immediately was in like any danger health wise or anything. So I wasn't too concerned about, you know, my friends and my family, thankfully, and I'm very, very lucky for that. But so it just meant we had like time. So I just spent like, I don't know, I can't even remember how long it was. Time lost meaning, but about 8 months writing, which was amazing to have that as it was a real privilege just to be able to be like, right, every single day I'm gonna, you know, go up, go for a run, have some breakfast, and I've got a studio at home, go in there and just write and study the craft writing. I was reading a lot about like different songwriting techniques and stuff. And so, and I feel like I improved an awful lot as a writer. Like I'm really excited for our next album, which is kind of pretty much done thanks again to all this time, because it's just like having the time to explore writing as a thing. Just I've never had that before in my life for that long, you know. So it's been, yeah. So I guess for everything that was all bad that happened, like not being able to play and stuff, and we're starting to like rebuild that up now. Yeah, I guess that was just like the privilege of time.
Right on, right on. Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I think for everyone, really, it's been a hard time, especially for musicians. I know that, I believe in the UK, I remember listening to someone and they mentioned that how the UK wasn't really supporting the musicians. I don't know if you can attest to that in a sense.
Yeah, the government have been awful. I mean, we've all had like they're horrible, horrible people before all of this, and it just keeps getting worse. Like
But
just
yeah,
when you
no,
think it's like gotten as bad as it's going to get, it just keeps getting worse. And no, there was absolutely no support really. I worked in a supermarket for the first like month of it, just like because all my income went pretty much immediately as soon as the lockdowns happened. Like the sound engineer in our band, who I used to work with, she rang me one day and was like, "They're just giving jobs out at the supermarket." So we went down, then we both got jobs, and then it was really weird because, you know, like suddenly working in a supermarket, which is, you know, it's not bad work, and I respect people that do it, but it was, and it needed to be done, but there wasn't any support otherwise. It all took a very long time to come, and when it came, it wasn't great, but yeah, it was awful.
yeah,
And
definitely. I mean, it's kind of in a sense almost the same thing here. In fact, here in Austin, they have this thing called ham, which basically is like it's kind of like health insurance for musicians here. But this is a nonprofit, so just go off of I believe donations and grants that are given. But either way, it's the idea of just still having ham here in Austin is kind of a sad thing because it's like musicians like yourself shouldn't be going to this thing when you guys make art for people to listen to and to consume every day. And to think, stuff like that still going on. This shouldn't be a conversation we're having right now. And
no, and I guess like, you know, the income from music for me has always been sporadic, and I've like, you know, it's been very few times when I've like been able to live off it and like not comfortably. So I've always had other jobs and stuff, which is cool, and I'm not afraid to work. I like working, but it was stuff like the music venues and the infrastructure around music when that started to kind of crumble, and like people had to fight so hard. There's a thing here called like the Music Venue Trust, which were like absolute saviors throughout the pandemic and trying to, you know, keep venues open. And because if that infrastructure goes, especially added in Brexit over here, so you can't tour Europe easily anymore, it's it's kind of a bit of a time bomb, and people having to be so strong and be so resourceful and so clever to keep the actual grassroots kind of independent music scene alive as it is, without a pandemic. So I like hats off to everyone that like fought like tooth and nail for the venues and for the infrastructure, because they've done such an incredible job and saved so many really important places. It's really cool.
No, definitely. I mean, like I said, there are the heroes that don't wear capes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I said, like I always said it. I think music has a unique way of helping people. Regardless of the beat, maybe the lyrics to the songs, people can relate to an extent to a lot of the times. A lot of the time. So, unfortunately, I know that here in Austin, when the pandemic did hit, a lot of the Austin's really known for the music scene here, and a lot of the time, the venues were really big, always packed, always sold out. I know when the first music venue I ever went to here in Austin. In fact, the first concert, this is the first time I went to a concert when I was 19 years old, 20 years old, and um, the idea was is that that first venue that I went to is now closed due to the pandemic, unfortunately. So it's kind of crazy to think, something. I mean, I guess kind of now going into it's kind of weird how something we can't even see is destroying a lot of people's lives, much less businesses as well, and the music scene. But now we're kind of getting out of it, and hopefully everything we can rebuild from that. Maybe those venues that unfortunately closed will open again, and we can see light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully soon, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I mean, for that, I mean, fingers crossed all the time for we're always hoping for the best here, right? So, as far
Yeah, and
as
I think
you,
sorry,
sorry, go for it.
I think people that work in live music are like the most resourceful people that I've ever come across as well. So like if anyone can save those kind of places, it's definitely people that work in live music, like the crews for bands and the venue staff and stuff. They're so resourceful.
Of course.
So yeah, I've got faith in that.
Well, yeah, yeah, of course. We're always the music scene will never die. I can assure we all know that. I think that's something that everyone's appreciative of. Um, but as far as going back now to your band, right? Being on tours, going out, playing live music. How has it shaped the music scenes for you guys? Does the audience go ahead and give you a certain vibe that you just want to rock out to? And then maybe perhaps there's certain things that you do to prepare for that.
Yeah, I think, well, in the past we've tried to make the gigs really immersive. So the last tour we did before COVID, like we had quite it was what's the right way of saying this? Like a manifesto of three. So there are three members. We had three strip lights, which were all like in sync with the music and stuff, and it was quite a harsh light show. And then three quite gentle, warm light bulbs above us. Um, so it was all kind of like exploring that as a thing. And before in Little Death Machine, as I said earlier, we kind of had like projections on us, and it was all quite immersive. But now we're like for the next tour, which we're doing next week, it's we're kind of stripping away from like the production element of it and just kind of letting the music speak for itself. So we've got a new drummer, um, Claire, who I started the punk band with Little Death Machine with years and years ago, and it's been so cool having her back in it. Um, so we're just kind of like letting the music speak for itself now. Um, and yeah, I guess like I don't know, it's really cool. You just meet so many wicked people and see so many people doing really creative things, and it's a very inspiring way to kind of live when you're like touring around. Just see lots of cool stuff, meet lots of lovely people, meet some not so nice people, but that's everywhere. But you kind of I guess if you're going into creative hubs in cities, you're going to see some cool stuff. So it's wicked. It's cool.
Right on, yeah. And I see still kind of going back on your tours you've done. Is there anything, the memorable moment perhaps in any of the tours? Maybe something funny for you guys?
Like every time I get asked this question, there's only one thing that really comes to mind. And we played a one-off gig in Bristol before COVID. Again, time has no meaning anymore. But after the gig, we were staying at my friend's house, and we got there before she arrived, and her housemate let us in and stuff. And they just got kittens, so I think there was like 6 or 7 kittens in this one room. So we just finished playing the gig, loaded up out the gear, went to my friend's house, and just played with kittens for like 2 or 3 hours. It was brilliant. It was so fun. It's not very rock and roll, but I guess we're not a very rock and roll band. But like it was just really fun, and the power was cut as well. So we were just playing with kittens and candlelight. It was so nice.
Oh, right on, yeah. That is literally, honestly, that's a good way to end the night, right? Just after you just jamming out, you go play with some kittens, I'm all
Yeah,
down for that.
That's
Yeah.
lovely.
No, usually I've always grown up with dogs, so I've never owned a cat or had a cat as a pet. So I couldn't say how much fun they are. I know my when I go to my friend's house or my cousin's house, they usually have cats. They're pretty chill with me. I hopefully maybe someday in the future I'll get a cat, but who knows,
Yeah,
right?
I've got a cat called George, and he's like definitely one of my best mates. He's really fun, and he's very like talkative with the cat. So he's got real personality. But we've just printed a new T-shirt for this tour, and it's got his face on it, which was like
Oh, so
awesome.
that
It's
is
really
right. So
cool.
if anyone is interested, you guys should go check out Birthmarks. I believe you have to purchase them in the link in the bio in your account, correct?
Yeah, for the tour, and then we'll have the T-shirts on sale after the tour
No, yeah, it
as
was
well.
very awesome. I was, when you posted that, I guess the to see which type of shirt it was. The cat
Mhm.
one was really cool. I thought that was interesting. I thought it was cool. Now there's kind of a story to that. Now I didn't know it was your cat, George, but now you know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do.
yeah. He's one of my best friends. I wanted to like
Right.
get him out there.
Right on, right on. That'd be cool, especially like I mentioned to you, when you do pop off, because you already are popping off. But when you get to an extreme, to a degree, I guarantee you, those shirts right there of George, man, they're gonna be people who have it. They're gonna just be like, they're gonna be flexing that shirt everywhere. They're gonna be like, I have a picture of George, I have a T-shirt of George on there.
That's the dream. That's the end. Yeah, that's the dream.
Right on,
Just mate.
yes. But as far as right now, but kind of going back onto your band and whatnot. You guys, like I mentioned to you earlier, you guys, when I first found out you guys, you were at around 600 followers. Now you guys are 2,000 plus. I think almost now reaching 3,000 at this point. So your music is just so awesome to a lot of people who don't even know it. And the thing is, a lot of people are knowing it, slowly now. But what makes your fans, the people who listen to your music, so great?
Um, they've got excellent taste. No, they well, I guess we've always tried to be really open with any audience and stuff. So and like have lines of communication open. So I talk to people. I don't really like the term fans or like to make any kind of pedestal or anything like that. I kind of just see it as people like the music, and that's cool. But I've always wanted to be quite open and have quite clear communication channels with people. So like I always really appreciate messages and like to have like a dialogue with people. And I think what I've always really strived to do with the writing is just be as honest as possible. Um, so I guess there's no pretense with it. It's just this is how I feel about this emotion, or this is what I feel about this. And I think people kind of respond to that in a way, like in a positive way, where you can just have like a good, honest conversation with someone. And I guess like I'm happy to start that conversation.
Of course, yeah,
Yeah.
right on. And like like I keep saying, and I'll say it again, the music in and out of itself is just amazing. I think that it's something that you can listen to, you can and just relate to it to an extent, and it's just awesome because again, I'm looking at your album, and it's just you have all these wonderful songs, and a majority of the songs are literally on all my playlists.
Oh,
Funny enough, so um, anyone literally, if you are listening right now, I totally recommend you should check out this band. Again, they went ahead and I listened to them the first time when we kind of got in contact at the first, and I was like, who is this band? But as soon as I put it on, it was just amazing. I think it's one of those things that you don't you look at you listen. I mean, you look at the band and you just like, who are these people? And as soon as you put it on, it's just great all the time. So I've literally listened to this album probably about a good 3 to 4 times just throughout the whole thing. Just when I'm doing my work, doing anything, I just have it on in the background. So
thank you. Thanks very much for listening.
yeah, so um, as far as your music for your band, how does a song come into existence? Is there certain themes you try to follow when you are doing this?
Yeah, well, so kind of as it stands, like we're all exploring different things at the moment with writing and stuff, but especially for that last album, so I start all the songs. So typically I'll have like an idea, like a rough idea about, I don't know, I'm either feeling something, or I have like some ideas about what what I have been feeling, or like certain themes I'd want to explore. So the album is basically coming out of depression. So a lot of those songs were either written in a state of depression, or looking back on how the depression was affecting me at that time, really. Um, and I think it was an extremely cathartic thing to write, but it's just kind of like trying to get down to like the grit of what that emotion is and put it into a song, really, and to bookend it around like the themes. But typically it would start with either me playing piano or guitar and just kind of get a few chords, and then that would kind of set the tone roughly for it. And then then it's just like harboring lyrics, which is quite a painful process, but not painful emotionally. It's really cathartic, as I say, but like painful to find the words, because it's trying to find the right honest approach and just being really honest with myself, really.
Yeah, of course, definitely. And again, I know we keep going back to it, but again, it's important. Like you mentioned, the whole mental health thing. It's very important that you are taking care. And like you mentioned, your lyrics are very about you're being open, you're being vulnerable to a lot of people, and I think that's very interesting and very brave of you because a lot of people aren't on certain things. But it's okay not to. But
Mm.
applaud to you. I think, like I mentioned, it's a very beautiful album, regardless at all. It's extremely beautiful. You allow yourself to be there and to show yourself, and I think that's, like I mentioned to you, it's a very beautiful thing. So, again, thank you on that end for that. But time to get to the real most important part, right? Talking about your songs. What are your? Do you have certain favorite ones that you've made, perhaps? Anything if you had to like, make your top three songs you've made.
Oh, um, that's really tricky. I'm just excited about the new ones at the moment, but obviously no one's heard them. Uh, I really like "How Do You Rule Me," which is the opening track on the album, because that felt like the right kind of production wise. That was the mood I was really trying to capture, like a bit of like hip hop and a bit of trip hop and kind of like Slint-esque guitar, so that one. Uh, Wax I like a lot because I don't know why I like that one. I like the smallness of it. I like that it's quite intimate. And this is really horrible. uh, Probably Charcoal or One Pulse. One Pulse, I think, which is the closing track on the album.
But definitely, yeah. I think the one I've been listening to over and over again was "How Do You Rule Me." I think that was a very interesting one too. It's very nice. That one was really. I think that was the first song I actually listened to when I first heard of your band, and it was really awesome. So, like I said, to all that, it was amazing. But as far as right now, you individually in the personal level, what are you listening to right now? Is there any artists perhaps you're listening to that can you name a few albums you just listen to, or perhaps does it inspires you when you're writing songs?
Yeah. At the moment, as we touched on it, I really like the new Black Country New Road album a lot. Listening to Jid a lot, the rapper. He's been really having a bit of a deeper dive into him. The new James Blake record I really loved. Having a bit of a look around LCD Sound System as well, like because I was really into them and then just kind of forgot about them for a little bit. So like getting back more into that kind of vibe. Writing wise, I try and listen to a lot of music. It's hard to find the time, but just trying to listen to stuff that I wouldn't typically listen to. So like listening to a lot of classical music, or to don't know, like grime, or like jazz and things, just stuff that, because I grew up on like punk and hip hop and stuff, so now it's like, and I love it still, but I feel like you need to kind of open your world a bit,
No.
otherwise you just get stuck in the same kind of like cycle of things. So I'm listening to, at the moment, a lot of kind of like older jazz, um, which is really cool. So like I'd never listened to like Bitches Brew until a few months ago, but I've been listening to that a lot and trying to understand it really. And like there's so many fresh sounds in that which I haven't heard before, which is really exciting to me, which is what I look for in music. So that's really inspiring, where it's just trying to like finding these new sounds. Like electronic music's brilliant for that. I've been really into was it Burial recently, and again that's something that kind of passed me by when it happened, but like that first Burial album is an absolute masterpiece, and I'm listening to it at least like 3 or 4 times a week at the moment. um it's like kind of early dubstep really, but like not the throbbing bass dubstep. It's like really moody and atmospheric. It's beautiful, beautiful piece of work. So I'm finding that very inspiring, and like looking for different kind of production ideas really for the next record, which I'm kind of getting there with it. It's going to be cool.
And as far as I guess albums that you listen to, do you collect vinyl perhaps?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a hobby of mine that that unfortunately is a very expensive hobby. I know that there's a record store here in Austin called Waterloo Records, and it's, I you literally find me there almost all the time. I'm usually there about 2 3 hours at times, and
Hmm.
just browsing music. The way I do it, I don't know, perhaps maybe it's different for you, but I usually put on my earphones, and if I see a record, something I haven't heard of, I just go on Spotify or whatever streaming service I have and just jam out to it to see if I like it. Um,
That's that's a brilliant idea. I'm going to do that.
no, yeah, it's
That's
it's really awesome because the thing is that like when I go out and I'm always looking at the same like, oh well, what about this band do I have? And it's music is just kind of not getting necessarily boring, but it's more that it's like I've heard of this, I don't kind of want it on album on vinyl, sorry. So I go ahead and I'll usually just put on my earphones and just if I see something I know you shouldn't be judging a book by its cover, but I'm guilty. I'm guilty as charged. But usually I go there and I go ahead and I just jam out. I'm like, and that's what's so awesome about I guess vinyl collecting and just listening to music is because you can connect to a lot of songs by just simply playing the music, and seeing that right there. That's what I do, and I recommend you should do it too. I mean, if you ever have the opportunity to go out and do that, just get a good pair of earphones, go to the record store and just see something you like and just start playing it on any streaming service. I promise you, it's a very dangerous hobby because you will end up leaving with like 4 vinyl records or something like that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it's really fun to do. How many vinyls do you have in your collection, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, me and my partner combined ours when she moved in, so like it's pretty sizable. She works in music, so she works for like labels and stuff, so she used to get a lot for free. So we've got a lot of that, and then my collection, and obviously her collection. So it's like three kind of big collections. But there's a really cool record shop in Camberwell, which isn't that far from where I live, called Rat Records, and basically the guy that runs it spends the week going around buying up old collections from wherever, and then on Saturday mornings he has like a big unveiling. So there'll be a queue outside the shop, and you won't know necessarily what's going to be in there, but it's always got really cool stuff, and it's really cheap because it's all like secondhand, and it's just like this weekly turnover thing that he does. It's really cool. So yeah, but I'm definitely going to steal your headphone trick next time I go to one of like their unveilings, because that, again, I don't know what a lot of it is, but yeah, and it's always so busy you can't go and ask them to put something on. That's a great idea. I'm
No,
definitely
yeah,
stealing that.
yeah, no, I always, like I mentioned to you, it's a very dangerous thing to do because you'll end up living with a lot of vinyl, especially now over here. I know that our currency is kind of different to where I believe yours is pounds and ours is money or USD. I think, what did you say, or something like that? I don't know. Point is with us, I'll end up usually going in there. I'm like, I'm gonna get like one $30 vinyl. I ended up leaving with like a $200 bill with with like 5 vinyls with me. I remember the other day, I had bought I bought the whole discography of Mac DeMarco. Um,
Oh wow,
yeah,
nice.
about his whole discography. Is cool. Funny enough, all of them were there, fortunately. But I got that, and I don't know if you know this other band. I've actually been getting into. It's kind of I've been doing a little bit of an analysis on them. You should actually check it out. It's called Have a Nice Life, um, and it's the album was called Death Consciousness. It's very interesting. It's very atmospheric music. Um, I'll make sure to send that to you. I think you might enjoy that. Although I do recommend anyone who does listen to it because it does have a heavy meaning to it. Just kind of be in a good headspace. Not that it, it deals with a lot of, especially like the booklet it comes with. Because when I bought my vinyl, it came with a little booklet, and it had a historian talking about some some medieval times or something like that. But the whole meaning of the album is extremely deep,
Uh-huh.
which is very interesting. But yeah, I recommend it to anyone who wants to get into something new and unique. It's a very um, interesting project. But kind of going back to the Birthmarks band, um, I know you mentioned there were some projects you're doing. So I don't know if you're going to want to tease us or not with those projects. Can you? Is there? What are you doing so far? When is it? Should we expect a date soon, later, or?
No, no, it's not quite there yet. So I'm still writing it. I reckon I'm about 3/4 of the way through. Like the end's definitely in sight with the writing process. So yeah, I've been writing songs, and me and John have been working on them. We started to send them to Claire. And so Jono is the other member in the band, and Claire's our drummer, or is the other member of the band. So I'm wording that weirdly. Um, yeah, so we're in kind of that process now where it's starting to it's not just raw songs anymore. It's starting to look at kind of the demoing and the production of them. But they're sounding like I'm really happy with the direction it's taking. It's going like quite gritty, and I've got I want it to sound like how like the Fugees record sounded and stuff. Like kind of dark and pretty, really. And then so we're hoping to have that done in the next month or so, like writing wise. Yeah, maybe a little bit longer, and then look to record it pretty soon after that. I really want to crack on with this and get it while it's hot and exciting, to try and just get it out as soon as possible, really. But yeah, I'd like to have it out before the end of the year. I just don't know practically if that's going to be able to happen. But that's my dream.
It's in the hopes, right? Like I always mention, fingers crossed all the time. I think that's something that's very, I know that last week when I was talking to another artist, they usually say artists it takes a lot of time to produce an album, all the
Mm.
time. And to your claim, yeah, it does seem also too on your end where, but you are handling with care. You're making sure it's something that lives up to your expectations too. So I think that's something very important too when making that. I feel like a good thing that I've learned is that um, you should make something that's good for you that you like and perhaps other people will enjoy. I think that's something that I think is kind of also true to an extent because you can't just be making I guess music that you don't like and then
Yeah,
it's not gonna want to encourage you to do something. You got to do something that's to you and personally to you. And I feel like again, I keep mentioning it, but your other album, your past one that you made, it was just it's like that. Going to your point, you talk about yourself and your struggles, and it's interesting because it's like that's your story, that's you as a person, and I think that's what's beautiful about it because it's an opening. You're looking into the life of someone, with their struggles, but it's such a beautiful project. So
oh, thank
I am very interested in the next one for sure, and eagerly waiting. So here, like I said, I'm here at Top Radio. We'll make sure that our album gets out there for sure. I can promise you that around the
you,
people in Austin for sure.
thank you very
So
much.
um, just kind of look at the things that you've done now, then and now. If you could look back at your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Um, what did I tell myself? Just that things that things change, like not always for the better. Well, no, not when things don't seem like they're going to be changing for the better. It's just you need to kind of shift your perspective, and like things do get better, I suppose. And I'd probably tell myself to play more piano because I really wish I was better at the piano, and I really regret not. Every time I sit down to it, I'm like, I should have been doing this every day for the last, X amount of years. But and every time I set myself to be like, I need to get better at piano, so I'm going to practice every day for that lasts for like 2 weeks, and then I have to relearn everything again. And I really, really want to be an amazing concert pianist, but I can barely play chords at the moment. Well, I can do like, yeah. So yeah, play piano is what I tell myself, and look after yourself.
Right on. Well, once again, Daniel, thanks you for coming in. We like again here at St. Edward's University, especially here on the Top Radio and now Alexis Garage, we do thank you for just stopping by. Giving we have the privilege enough to have you and just have fun, talk about music, the things we all love here. If you guys are interested, you guys can look them up on Instagram. Yeah, I know you have an Instagram. It's Birthmarks Sounds. You can go to
I just
Linktree. I'm sorry.
Birthmarks sound, so it's like, yeah, singular. So but it's two S's in the middle, no S at the end.
All right. Well, there you go. If you guys want to go, yeah, you can totally check them out. I believe you're on all streaming platforms, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, they're all on streaming platforms. You guys can enjoy their music. Like I said, I've enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure everyone else who will listen is going to enjoy it for sure. Do you have anything you want to plug in? Anything you want to say? Shout outs to anyone? Shout out to George. I think that's the most important, the first one here, right?
Yeah. Big shout out. I don't know where he is. He's probably hiding from the storm, but yeah, big shout out to George. We're really, really excited to have Claire joining. That's kind of our biggest news at the moment. So big shout out to Claire. And like, we had rehearsed last night, and me and John literally spent the whole way home talking about how happy we are that she's in the band. So big shout out to Claire as well.
Right on. Well, like I said, thank you for just joining us here, and we hope to have you soon. Maybe if you're here in Austin, let us know, and we'd like to have you over.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that would be lovely. I'll let you
Awesome.
know whenever that happens, or if it happens.
Until then, you all have a great day, have a great morning, and I'll see you when I do. I'm out.